All the Young Dudes by MsKingBean89, Chapter 35, Second Year, What's in a Name? Monday, 19th March, 1973. I have a spot of good news, Madam Pomfrey smiled warmly. I didn't want to mention it in case we couldn't sort things out in time, but you'll be seeing me over the summer. For a moment, Remus dared hope that this meant that he was not going back to St. Edmund's, but the Meadowitch continued. Mrs. Orwell, your matron at the children's home, has kindly permitted me to apparate onto the grounds at dawn following both full moons this summer. She smiled widely. Ah, well, it was better than nothing. He smiled back weakly. Great, he croaked. His arms and legs felt heavy as lead. He could barely raise his head to drink the potion she was offering him. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Remus had missed his lessons. He'd been asleep most of the day. Sleep was still the only remedy that seemed to work. I told Dumbledore I would do with or without his permission. I couldn't live with myself if you arrived here in September in the same state you did last year. I could stay at a wizard's house this summer. That would be even safer, Remus tried. My friend James... I'm sorry, dear, Madam Pomfrey shook her head. It's just not safe enough. The Potters did get in touch, but we need to preserve your anonymity for as long as we can. I know it isn't much fun for you, but it's better you stay with the Muggles. Remus closed his eyes and took a deep breath. It would only be 2 months, and the summer was still ages away. Stay positive, stay positive. A sudden clattering noise at the end of the wall jerked Remus out of his meditative chant. Madam Pomfrey frowned and turned to look around Remus's bed curtain. Mr. Pettigrew, she shouted, what do you think you are doing? Sorry, Madam Pomfrey, we would just pick up those bedpans up right now and put them back in the cupboard. And you can wipe that smirk off your face, Mr. Black. Give him a hand. Aye, Remo, James peeked out around the curtain. Sorry about that noise. Remus grinned, trying to sit up. It's okay. Lie down, Madam Pomfrey chastised. You've had 3 broken bones, you silly boy. I'm feeling much better. Crash! Mr. Pettigrew! What did I say? Madam Pomfrey disappeared, looking very cross. James slumped into a chair beside Remus's bed. Ready to go? He asked, casually. Remus could always count on James not to treat him like an invalid. If she'll let me, Remus nodded to the curtain. Pomfrey had vanished behind. How was the match? Smashed it, James nodded enthusiastically, dropping the snitch into Remus's lap. He ran his fingers through his hair as if to regain that feeling of just being touched down. Made one of the Ravenclaw beaters cry. How nice. How was, your night? Fine, Remus replied, dryly, twisting his mouth. They didn't often talk about the full moons, and Remus was pretty glad about that. He didn't like the idea of them knowing too much. Pain was a personal thing. 3 broken bones, did she say? Yeah, all fixed now. She's amazing. Only takes 1 spell. Muggles have to wear plaster casts for weeks and weeks. Weird. Remo, Sirius whipped back the curtain. You're alive! He fell dramatically at the foot of the bed. I was convinced she was trying to cover up something. The old bear wouldn't let us come over. Don't call her that, Remus replied irritably. And don't call me that. But you wanted a nickname, Sirius said, sounding affronted as he climbed back to his feet. Peter appeared, looking sullenly with his hands in his pockets. No, I didn't, Remus frowned. When did I ever say that? Last year, Sirius said quickly. Almost exactly a year ago. You said you wouldn't mind being called anything as long as it wasn't Loony Lupin. God, you've got a memory like an elephant, Remus rolled his eyes. Anyway, he lowered his voice in case Madame Pomfrey was lurking nearby. The whole point of having a nickname was so no one knew who wrote the map. I don't think Remo is going to fool anyone. He's got a point there, James said wisely. As much fun as it's been. Fair enough, Sirius heaved a sigh. But we can call you Remo until we come up with something better. No. Boring. Sirius cast around for something else to say, conspicuously avoiding looking at Remus's bandages. So are we getting out of here, or shall I settle down for a rousing game of snap? He's not going anywhere, Madame Pomfrey bustled in. I'm keeping Mr. Lupin for observation overnight. No, Remus protested. I'm feeling much better. He always said that. It wasn't usually true, but he knew he would start to feel better eventually, and it didn't much matter whether he was in the hospital wing or not. I'm not being deliberately unkind, Remus, the nurse sighed. This is for your health. I'll go straight to bed. We'll look after him, James said, earnestly, standing up. Remus waited to see if that worked. James was good with grown-ups, especially witches. He'd even been known to soften McGonagall once or twice, though that might have been to do with his Squitch skills. Madame Pomfrey was unmoved. I'm sorry, Mr. Potter, but no. Fine, Peter said, uncharacteristically firmly. We'll stay here then. Yeah, Sirius and James said, as one. You'll miss dinner, Remus said. I'm sure we can arrange something just this once, Madame Pomfrey said, trying not to smile. All right, boys, but you're to keep quiet and get on with your own work. I'll not have you using Mr. Lupin here as an excuse for not handing anything in. With a wave of a wand, 3 more chairs appeared out of thin air, along with a long pinewood desk complete with inkwells for their quills. Remus opened his mouth to speak, but Madame Pomfrey was apparently psychic. And no, Remus, no homework for you. Just rest. Remus shut his mouth and lay back down. How was he supposed to keep ahead of Sirius and James if the woman wouldn't let him study? Can I read my book? He asked, meekly. As long as it doesn't strain your eyes. She left, and the other 3 boys dutifully pulled out their homework and began scribbling. Remus craned his neck to try and see what they were working on. He was all up to date with his, but had been doing some extra reading and charms in an attempt to defeat Lily in the upcoming exams. James covered up his work with his sleeve. No looking, Remu. You just rest. Ugh, call me loony, Remus groaned. Anything but Remu. But it suits you, Sirius said over his quill. Remu. Stop it or I'll bite you. Remu. Remu. Peter joined in, all 3 boys giggling hysterically, but trying not to be heard. I hate my name. Remus covered his face with the book he was reading. It wasn't fair. James Potter was so reassuringly ordinary. Peter Pettigrew was perfectly respectable. And Sirius Bloody Black was the coolest name ever, whichever way you looked at it. You might as well call me anything you like. I don't know what it would be worse. Loony Remu? James suggested helpfully. Remoony? Sirius could hardly breathe from laughing now. Remoony, he snorted, collapsing onto his desk, shoulders shaking. Moony is actually quite good, Peter suddenly said, very soberly. Eh? Moony, as a nickname. Remus stared at him, unaccustomed to paying very much attention to anything Peter said. He thought about it, rolling the name around in his head. It sounded like Loony, but was nowhere near as horrible. I don't hate it, he said, finally. I love it, James said. Moony, suit you. Won't people, catch on? He worried, chewing his lip. Nah, Sirius waved a hand. We'll tell them it's after the muggle and the Who. They're all the muggles and the Who, Remus replied. But I don't play the drums. You like hitting things? Sirius shrugged. Thanks. No problem, Remoony. Some hours later, after Madame Pomfrey had brought them all dinner, James had left for Quidditch practice and Peter for a detention. Sirius had given up on his homework long ago and was instead attempting to perfect a tentacled arms jinx on himself. Remus was stalwartly ignoring his behaviour. He knew that Sirius was pronouncing the incantation all wrong, with the emphasis in the wrong place, but he wasn't going to tell him, because he wasn't exactly sure why Sirius wanted a tentacled arm so badly, and it couldn't be for any good reason. Eventually, bored, Sirius leaned back on his chair, feet propped up on Remus's bed. What are you reading, anyway? The Epic of Gilgamesh, Remus supplied, turning the page. He was nearly at the end, and his reading spell was waning. If Sirius would just leave him alone for 5 more minutes. What's it about? It's yours, he said, surprised. I got it off your shelf. Oh, one of the muggle ones. I haven't read many of them, to be honest. They were Mongol outfits. Right. So what, Black? What's it about? A man called Gilgamesh. Okay, you have to agree that's a worse name than Remus Lupin. Remus chuckled. Yeah, all right. It could always be worse. So tell me about this goulash bloke. Gilgamesh. He was a king a long time ago. See? Now I'm hooked. That's how all good stories start. Sirius cupped his head in his hands, staring at Remus as if he was a professor teaching Sirius's favourite subject. No, you're just putting off your astrology essay. Pfft, I could be James's. Sirius waved a casual hand. Tell me more, O keeper of knowledge. I've read to you plenty of times. Remus sighed, putting down the book. There was no getting out of it when Sirius was in a sort of mood. Gilgamesh was a king. Yes, a long time ago, you've established that. Look, shut up or piss off. Okay, Sirius held up his hands in surrender. Carry on. So he was a king, but not a good one. He wasn't fully human. He was 2/3 god, so he was stronger than everyone else, and his people were frightened of him. It was dangerous. So his people prayed. That's when he asked the gods for help, and the gods sent another man to help control Gilgamesh. Was he even stronger? No, but he was part animal. So this beast man killed Gilgamesh? No, they fought each other for a really long time, but Gilgamesh still won. He didn't kill Enkidu, though. He sort of recognised that they were equals, and they became friends. Best friends. They have all these adventures together, fighting other monsters and stuff. It's cool. I want to know more about this beast man. Enkidu. He was master of the animals, and he was happy living in the wild, but then, after he's sent to control Gilgamesh, he can't ever go back to nature, so he never really belongs. But he had his friend, right? Yeah, but... Well, I don't want to spoil the ending for you. It's okay. I hardly ever read Muggle stuff. You're missing so much, Remus exclaimed. Well, okay then. Enkidu dies. What? Yeah, it's sort of sad. He was my favourite character too. But why? To teach Gilgamesh about death, I think. Before Enkidu, he was too arrogant to believe anything could hurt him. But after he loses him, he realises that he's not the master of everything. No one can control death. That's a really depressing thought, Moony. Remus shrugged. It had all seemed pretty straightforward to him.